Hello, I am the Musician Girl 1. This is the Musician Girl Tutorials, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about vibrato. So vibrato is one of those things that can add so much style to your playing if used correctly, and it's really, it can really make or break a player, a good consistent vibrato. So I'm going to be giving you a few tips and tricks. I'm by no means an expert on vibrato, but I do know how to do it, so I'll give you a few pointers. So you'll notice once you start learning to practice vibrato that there are definitely easier and harder fingers to do vibrato on. So the second finger is generally known as a pretty easy finger to do vibrato on, just because of the way it moves. So and the third finger is pretty simple as well. So for the purpose of this video and for learning vibrato for the first time, I would definitely recommend do everything that I point out in this video. Do it to your second finger first, and then move to your third, and then do your first. And finally, when you're feeling really adventurous, then do your fourth, because your fourth is the hardest finger to do a proper vibrato on. Okay, so what is vibrato? Vibrato is basically just when you're changing the note ever so slightly, the pitch of the note, to create a slight, almost warbling effect, you know? So you're just very, very gently bending the pitch. Now, the first thing to know about vibrato is that sometimes when you're just starting out, you'll have the tendency to just move your whole finger up and down the fingerboard. That's not how it works. So instead, I want you to find a wall or a hard surface. I've got a book here, hardcover book, and I want you to stick your finger down on top of it, and without letting your finger slide across the book, I want you to gently wiggle it. And what you're going to feel, kind of just the tiny amount of fat that's on the top of your finger, that's going to be what's moving. Your knuckles might move a little bit of mobility, but your finger is going to stay grounded on that surface. I don't want to see your finger sliding around like this at all. There should be no friction involved here. Okay? And that is what vibrato is. It's not a slide, it's a gentle rocking where you're kind of shifting around the fat on the ball of your finger, shifting around your knuckles a little bit. So with that in mind, let's try that out. Just that much, just thinking of that. And now I want you to try actually shifting your finger, and you'll see how it doesn't actually sound like vibrato. Lovely, eh? Do you want to put that in the middle of a beautiful classical piece? Probably not. So that's one of the most important rules when doing vibrato, is don't shift your finger. Next rule is where you're actually doing your vibrato from. So your vibrato comes a little bit from your wrist and a little bit from your elbow. So your whole forearm should be moving a little bit when you're doing vibrato, but your shoulder shouldn't be moving at all. It's just kind of from the elbow up into the tips of the fingers, and your wrist can help out a little bit by shifting as well. This is something that just takes a little bit of practice and muscle memory to really get. Okay? Now there's two types of vibrato, and a whole bunch of types of vibrato in between those two types. Those two types are fast and slow. Pretty simple. So slow vibrato is the hardest to do because you really have to control it and make it even. Because if your pitches are moving in different intervals, it's going to sound weird. Like if I go up, here, I'll just give you an example. Do you see how it's not even? You can't predict it. Vibrato needs to have a steady pulse. Okay? It's not because that sounds scattered and weird. You don't want to listen to that. So that's why slow vibrato is difficult, because you really have to measure that pulse and really control your muscles to make sure that you are measuring that pulse. So let's try that. obviously that's really slow and probably much slower than you would ever use in a piece because it sounds weird. But to speed it up a little bit, let's try a beautiful, slow, milky vibrato. The best vibrato doesn't sound like you're changing the pitch. It just sounds like the pitch is resonating and moving itself. Okay? And yeah, obviously that takes a lot of practice. Even I can't do that all the time either. I'm still working on my vibrato. So fast vibrato is a bit easier. It's a little bit more forgiving. Okay, a lot of that is coming from my knuckles because fast vibrato, it's difficult to get coming all the way up from your elbow because it's such a big muscle and it's hard to move quickly like that. So a lot of that is sort of my knuckles bending a little bit there. So that's kind of the mechanics of vibrato. Now when to apply vibrato. So vibrato is obviously nice in smooth, slow sections. It can also be nice in fast songs every now and then when you need it. It's often used to add color to bland long notes in a song. Because I could just play a note like this and would sound like I'm just blaring a note at you. But if you add a little bit of vibrato, it's a little bit more subtle and it sounds a little bit more planned out and purposeful. Especially if you kind of use your bow to put some swells in there and really make it sound gorgeous. Vibrato is also tricky because if you start adding it, you can't stop adding it, at least without purpose. So sometimes it's really easy to put in vibrato when you're playing a second finger or something because it feels good. And then all of a sudden you have to play a fourth finger or a first finger and you stop doing the vibrato in the middle of the phrase. And that can sound really jerky. So if you're going to put vibrato into a phrase, you have to commit to it. That's one of the most important things about vibrato. Commit to it or don't do it, because a half job will sound really disjointed. And that's all I can think about to say about vibrato now. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the discussion section below, and I will try my best to respond to them, either in text or by doing a brand new video. I'm always open to doing new videos if you guys need help with something else, something extra. Alright, thank you for watching. Feel free to check out all of my other videos. I have one on ornamentation, all sorts of videos for playing by ear. Anything you need to know, shoot me a message and I'll be sure to answer it. Thank you very much.